Perry Horton, he emailed a few weeks ago. He emailed like 40 questions. But one of the things that he did mention that I thought was worth mentioning was your memories of Sugar Bear Harris, who we
Oh yeah,
better know as Kamala.
Sugar Bear Harris. I walked in the dressing room in Memphis, and I forgot what year it was, years ago. And there was James. I called him James, but Sugar Bear. He was standing out in the hallway, and I'd known him. I'd known him from somewhere. We knew each other. I shook his hand. What are you doing? And he said, "Oh man, I'm just here to see if I can get a job." I said, "Well, talk to Jerry Jarrett, Lawler." So he walked in there and he walked out. And that night, I think he left before the matches started going. So I don't know how his little meeting came out. So, and I was helping with creative in Memphis there for a while. So we went to the meeting, I think maybe a week later. And Jerry Jarrett brought him up. He says, "What do you guys think about Sugar Bear Harris?" And because he got the name by working for another group, an independent group down in Mississippi. He's from Mississippi. I love James Harris. So he's big. He wasn't a smart ass. He's a good guy, really. So they said, "I have an idea about him." Now, in hearing this now, it sounds racist as hell, but it worked like a son of a bitch. They made him because Jerry Jarrett had just finished watching a show, National Geographic. They still have it on. And they heard about this Dr. Kamala, who went deep into the Amazon forest to treat these people with typhoid or, some jungle disease or something. So they said, well, that'd be a good name. Kamala, the African something, I forgot. We'll call him Kamala. And they said, yeah, but we need to paint him up some. So, and as you saw him painted up, and he used this in Memphis, then later in Mid South, he'd paint a half moon on his tummy, and then he'd paint something up, then teeth. Oh, and it was, and he got over like a son of a bitch when he walked out there, and nobody could beat him. He was about 330 pounds, but could move. And they did this set of, remember what I'm saying, do things out of the studio. That's what they filmed him. It was supposed to be deepest, darkest Africa. Well, it wasn't deepest, darkest Africa. It was deepest, darkest Hendersonville, Tennessee. It was right behind Jerry Jarrett's house. And he's sitting down there and he'd hear some drums beating and he'd look around and, he'd get up and go. So, and that's how they introduced Kamala. And they put a handler with him. I forgot what the handler's name,
Kimchi.
which was Buddy Wayne, Kimchi. They put all this stuff and the face mask on him. You didn't know who he was. I think he ended up with Jimmy Hart, and he got over like a son of a bitch. So I remember the time he hadn't been beat, and they booked him against Jimmy Valiant. And the place, I don't know if it sold out, but it was a hell of a house because Lawler was in a match and he was blowing off an angle. He was getting ready for Kamala. So all the baby faces after this time, it was the Fabs and Bill Dundee and Stan Lane. They'd all put Kamala over. So they booked him against Jimmy Valiant. And that was supposed to be, if he beat Valiant, he's ready for Lawler. But Valiant, something happened. He passed out at the airport, I believe, because he went to the hospital. I forgot what it was. So who took his place? Me. I took his place. And I was fully expecting to get beat that night. So I walked in there with Jerry Jarrett and Kamala, and he says, well, Dutch, Jimmy can't show up, so you're picked. And I said, yeah. And I didn't mind putting him over. So he said, we're going to have you go tonight, and I don't want you to beat him, and I don't want him to beat you. I want like a double count out, which surprised me because that's like a draw. And I said, okay. So we did something. I ended up with a bullwhip, and he left. which is a little more racism added in, but I didn't realize it at the time. But I asked Jerry Jarrett the week after, I said, let me ask you something. Why didn't you beat me like you beat the Fabs and Dundee and Stan Lane? Why didn't I get beat too? He said, well, you're a replacement for one thing. And you never beat a replacement because now the people are double pissed off. They double pissed off because Jimmy didn't come. Then they double pissed off because you didn't do well. So leave them in the middle anyway. So he said, never beat a replacement. And he says, what you and KAMALA did, it didn't hurt him, and it didn't hurt you. So he said, I think we escaped that pretty well. I think he did come in the next week, Jimmy, and then they did something. I can't remember what they did, but that was. And we talked about booking like a week ago. That was one of the things that taught me never beat a replacement if you can get around it. So it taught me a lesson too. But I remember Sugar Bear Harris very, very well.
Yeah, I believe Sugar Bear Harris actually wrestled in England for a while on the World of Sport circuit or joint promotions, whatever it was. One thing I wanted to mention about...
As KAMALA?
As Sugar Bear Harris, or James Harris. I think it was very early in his career. One thing I wanted to mention that as another story I've heard is after a while of getting the stars and the moon painted on his belly by Jerry Lawler, who did the painting, Sugar Bear would say to Jerry, I won't do the accent, Jerry, why do you keep painting a banana on my stomach? You thought it was banana all the way through.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I don't know. That is a good question. But at the time, nothing seemed wrong. And to me, see, I say it's racist. It probably is. If you look at it under those lens, it probably is. But a lot of people, a lot of things used to be that way. But at the time, nothing was wrong with it. No black people. If you get in Memphis and no black people complain, you're not doing anything wrong.